Welcome to the Mashup.
Tell me whether I'm wrong or right. East or west, up or down, side to side. I sit to stand and fall to fly. Of all of my impulsive plans, pop and lock and salsa dances on demand. I follow leading off the map and stop the chatter, scream happily.
Welcome to the Mashup.
Welcome to the mashup. Welcome to the welcome to the mashup.
Welcome to the Mashup.
Choose is an idiot. Episode 150 edition. I have lent so many people books and tools over the years, and I never remember who I lend them to, and then I always forget about it, and then they're gone forever. And then I lent somebody something last week. It was this cable, this really important cable that I need for the podcast. And I was like, it's fine, you can borrow it, but I need it back. And that jerk never brought it back. And so now today, I have got a very short cable draped across my lap because that's the only way that this podcast can come together, because Twos never remembers to get stuff back from people when he lends it to them. I would just love to just find that person and give them a piece of my mind. And now on something completely unrelated, let's welcome Sean.
You want to know the funny thing about that cable?
You didn't even use it.
I didn't even use it. You want to know why I didn't use it?
Because the whole point of it was just to screw me over, not to actually use it.
Because I had 4 more cables sitting in my vehicle, and they were under a coat. Yep. So I showed up to his house. Need a cable because I forgot the cable. Took the cable. Found the other cables. Was like, oh yeah, there they are. I'm an idiot.
Well, now I have
Plugged
5
it in,
cables.
and then drove home and didn't give Tuesday's cable back. That's funny. Although in fairness, I said, don't worry about it. I'll get a cable. And you're like, oh no, not a big deal. So you did it to yourself.
Yeah, not a big deal if you actually get around to returning it.
Yeah.
Neither a borrower nor a lender be. There's some words of wisdom right there.
Mashup 150, folks. Hard to believe 150 of these suckers in. Also on X, I'm watching X right now, and normally you can see the video, and I don't know why, but it's doing this weird broadcasting where you can't see it. So if you're on X, hit retweet on this sucker, because I could see our numbers starting real slow, and I'm assuming it's this X. Every time we broadcast off StreamYard in the last week, it doesn't show the actual video. I don't know what's going on there. Like, share, skate up for Team Rooster.
Yeah.
Suit up, tie up, skate up.
Yeah, I typed it quickly. But
Okay.
the point is that you should just put on a pair of skates and go
Suit
skate
up.
for Team Rooster.
Tie up.
Well, I guess Chris Sims is in the background. She says it's there. I don't know, Chris. I'm looking at my phone. Maybe it's just me. Okay. Well, we got a whole lot to get to. Obviously, you see that Chris Sims is coming in here shortly.
Yep.
Good morning, Nicholas. Nicholas tuning in from X. All right. Mashup 150. Happy Airborne Friday to Jamie Sinclair, the military boys. Thanks for tuning in, folks, on a Friday morning. What do we got?
Thanks for being here with us this long.
Okay. The Coot 6.5 thing. Okay.
Coot 6.5.
Like a man who kidnapped girl from Prince Albert playground to live in Regina after release.
Yeah. So not just kidnapped her, but also did all of the bad things that you would expect really bad people to do to kids they kidnap in playgrounds.
Correct.
Yeah. And anyway, when it was all said and done, his incarceration following that day was 6.5 years. 6.5 years.
Yeah. I don't know. I read this. I don't know. I had a hard time reading the story, to be honest.
Yep.
I was like, this sucks. Like this right here. I'm going to pull it up because I want to make sure. Right there. There he is.
Mm-hmm.
Kidnapped a girl, did all the awful things, and he's going to be living in Regina. So, yeah. Okay. All right.
Well, he'll fit in with town council.
Need a cold shower now. Thanks for that, Twos. Thanks for that, Regina. Thanks for that, Saskatchewan. Thanks for that, Canadian justice system.
Yep. Also, under the whole Coot 6.5, where we point out that people get really lax sentences for things other than protesting the government. No penalty for man who returned UBC library book 64 years late.
These
He
are
took
the
the
stories
book out
I'm here
in-
for. I'm
in
here for this story.
1960. He basically kept it until they didn't do overdue fees anymore.
Correct.
And then he returned it. And so, yeah, our justice system is a joke, people.
Yeah, he should be locked away for 6.5 years. Is that what you're saying?
Throw away the key.
Yeah. All right, let's get on in the show, shall we? Alberta Director of the Canadian Taxpayers Federation, Miss Chris Sams. Thanks for hopping in.
Good morning. Twos, have you done a wellness check on Sean yet? Like, have you asked him if he's doing okay after yesterday?
Oh,
Like, that would be a nice thing for you to do as a friend. I'm just saying.
that a little
'Cause
sooner. We were going to do that later on. If
okay. It's okay. I just wanted to make sure Sean was okay.
No. This
the
is
footage
fine.
from
Let's,
yesterday with Captain Leave It in the Ground Carney suiting up with the Oilers, like, I thought I was asleep. Like, there it is.
Oh, look at
yeah.
him.
It's worse than
great.
that.
We got a
Yeah.
it gets way worse than that. We got
I'm sorry, Sean. I actually did want to check in to see if you were okay, but now Twos is just piling it on.
Canada suiting up for the Edmonton Oilers. Is it
Go
is-
ahead.
wonderful, Sean? We're going just a little bit off script here. Here he is, not looking like an old man. And then here's him missing an open net. Oh, no, that wasn't the clip where he missed the open net, but he did miss an open net in another clip, which kind of makes you think Polyev should do the same thing. But yeah, that is the Prime Minister of Canada wearing an Oilers jersey. This is great. I mean, you remember they were the pioneers of the hockey tape. I mean, I feel like if this had all happened in the 90s, Bettman would have probably moved them to San Francisco and named them the Edmonton Lubricators. But
Twos.
But
I
this
was thinking solar blenders, and I'm saying this as an Oilers fan. This hurt me too. I'm an 80s kid. Grew up watching them. So I'm wondering now, like, this, and I must say there's more footage than that. I won't belabor it.
Oh yes.
He's in the locker room. They made him a nameplate, like the whole thing. Like,
Well, he's Prime Minister of Canada, Chris.
oh, sure. And
it's a
he's
big
the
deal.
guy who wants 80% of our oil and gas to stay in the ground. And this exact thing was happening while his environment minister was telling Premier Danielle Smith, yeah, you know that cap on Alberta Energy that's choking off Alberta Energy? It's staying in place. And then he puts on an Oilers jersey. Like, it's not an Edmonton Solar Blenders jersey.
Mhm.
I was pretty surprised.
Yeah,
Yes,
this is not the Edmonton kills birds indiscriminately ears. This is
You know what it reminded me of? You remember the video of Putin skating?
it reminds me of Paul Coffey, actually. Why?
No, it does not. Fuck you.
Paul
all right,
Coffey
you're
is
getting
a
me.
legend.
You're getting
You
me
hush your
all
mouth.
animated. I'm gonna mute Twos right now. You know what it reminds me of? It reminds me of when Putin went out and skated. We got a prime minister who's talking about elbows up, and he looks like he's gonna fall down the entire time. I'm like, oh my goodness, we got a moron leading us. He's going. He literally goes to the Edmonton Oilers as everything with the oil and gas, and I'm just like, this cannot. Like, this is happening. This is happening. This is literally where Canada's at. All right,
You guys
fine.
are in the same league
My worlds are
as
colliding.
the Toronto
folks.
Maple Leafs, and you guys have the second lamest team. How does that? Or you guys? They're the lamest. I screwed it up, but you know where I'm going with this. The Leafs also
See how you
suck.
did that there? That's why your team only won the one cup and our team won a whole bunch of cups. It's the same thing. So, sorry,
Yeah,
Sean. I
that's-
truly
that's
meant to
great.
check on you
Uh,
because
we-
I love the Oilers too, and I was shocked
Do,
to see
do
this.
we want to? If we want to keep going, we could bring up pictures of Rachel Notley and Naheed Nenshi in Oilers jerseys.
I'm sure we could find them in
I think
flames.
I can do
jerseys
this
too.
all day long, guys.
Uh-huh.
I think we've tortured Sean long enough.
No worries. We're giving the Calgary Flames a bunch of money for a rink
And the Edmonton Oilers.
and the Edmonton Oilers. You know,
Yep,
like it's
taxpayers'
What?
money.
They just
Yeah.
got a new rink.
They sure did.
They
That
sure did.
taxpayers helped pay for. And then they just shook down both the municipality of Edmonton and the province of Alberta for millions more in taxpayer dollars. And here's
Why?
the kicker. Because why not? There's a money tree there and it's raining money too.
No, but
why
what
not?
justification did they have for it?
None.
Okay, what was their purported justification for it?
It will beautify the downtown of Edmonton.
You know what would
So-
also beautify the downtown of Edmonton? Getting a few dentists in there.
This is the thing. Not only is it millions of taxpayers' dollars from taxpayers who can't afford this, by the way, being given to a mega rich NHL club, but their plaza that they're going to, renovate or whatever the thing they call it, it's millions of dollars going into this plaza, which is right next to the rink. Okay. That plaza is like a stone's throw away from a million other venues for concerts and stage plays and all sorts of stuff. It is going to privately compete with all these other businesses. But taxpayers are dumping money into it through an NHL team. It was absolutely rotten. I put out a news release about it.
I hadn't even heard that. I missed it entirely.
Yeah.
Ah.
Actually, I'm filing FOIs today. You usually wait 24 hours after you see something hinky and weird. So after that bizarre footage yesterday, I thought I was asleep. I'm like watching this going, what? I'm like literally writing a news release about the energy cap strangling Alberta's economy. And I'm looking at this footage of him suiting up for the Oilers. And so I'm like, all right.
Oilers.
I
just want to turn the show. You know what? You've just depressed. I'm all excited about Chris Sims coming on.
Sorry.
And now she opens with that.
I'm such a ray of sunshine most of the time. But no, I am filing freedom of information requests to find out if this NHL club is hitting up the feds now for taxpayers' money. Because that was weird. That looked weird. My spidey sense went off. So
why do you said you usually wait 24 hours? What's the methodology behind that?
Well, because then all of the talks will have been done. Like if they're visiting, right? If you see two humans together in a position of power and in like somebody who may want something, you wait until that's all wrapped up.
So there's a paper trail.
That's exactly what FOIs are. Freedom of information requests are like, imagine yourself, you've gotten into the Watergate office. Which filing cabinet do you want to check? That's how you have to visualize it because it is a document trail. That's all it is.
Yeah. The only difference between this and Watergate is that they duct taped the door so it stayed open and we basically bolt it closed. Is there a reason why, just out of curiosity, why it isn't by default just searchable? Like why can't we just have a big spreadsheet with a bunch of links in it?
That's a great question.
I mean, obviously, sorry, just to finish the thought though, obviously not, sensitive things like national security and stuff like that, but everything else should just be a pivot table, shouldn't it?
Yeah, some of them are. So it depends on which jurisdiction you're in. A lot of the federal bureaucracy, for example, has what's called proactive disclosure. So that means I don't need to go into, say, Environment Canada's bureaucrats and ask for these documents about their latest AGM and how much they spent on sandwiches. I can just go find that as under proactive disclosure, click on hospitality, and you can usually find those documents. Now, if you can't, that's when you go to FOI. So your answer, my answer to your question is it sometimes is, but not always.
Okay, fair enough.
All right. The whole reason we brought you on wasn't to talk to stupid Edmonton Oilers and they're annoying me. It doesn't help that I got twos over there and Nick's watching, and I'm just gonna eat this on the. Anyways, let's talk carbon tax.
I'm so glad that all of our friends could be here today.
Let's cheer up and talk about the carbon tax.
Yeah, no kidding.
Well, I mean, it's horrible. I mean, this puts more money in the pockets of 8 out of 10 Canadians. I mean, literally, we had Catherine McKenna saying that that people who want to cancel the carbon tax are arsonists. We've had, Justin Trudeau talking about how it's the most important part of our fight against climate change. The Liberals saying how there is no planet B and that we require real solutions like a carbon tax. And then this new guy comes in out of nowhere, and the first thing he does is cancel it.
He's taking it away from us. This guy, Mark Carney, who wrote a 507-page book, Cheerleading Carbon Taxes? Yeah, sure. So he's reducing the carbon tax down to 0.
Mhm.
That's number one.
Which,
He's
by
not
the
getting
way,
rid of
was
it.
well done because you were saying that for a long time. You're like, they don't need to repeal it. They can just move it
That's
down to
right.
0. And you were, as far as I know, miles ahead of literally everybody else in saying that that's how they can do it.
That was also my team back in Ottawa. It's full of very smart nerds. So they were pushing that as well. So for sure. So he did that as of April 1st, which is a catch. He said
Because it's after the
immediately.
winter.
He said it immediately with his face. And then that piece of paper that he signed, which is not an executive order because we don't have executive orders in Canada, that he signed those said April 1st. And then we went and found it in the Gazette, which is basically a publication of government actions, the Gazette. That's again for after March 31st. So it should kick in if they do it April 1st. And if that happens, that does mean you're going to save about $20 per fill up on a pickup truck. The devil's in the details though on this one. And these details have got split hooves and big horns, okay? Because Carney said that he does not want to axe the tax. In fact, his crowd laughed about that in Kelowna, okay? He's going to change it. And by that, he's going to shove the consumer-facing carbon tax, which annoys him because us uppity peasants get mad because we can see how much we're paying on our heat bills, right? He doesn't like that. So he's going to hide the cost of the carbon tax in the industrial carbon tax, which is why it was a game changer, in my opinion, that Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre said, you know what? Let's get rid of that one too. Nuke all carbon taxes from orbit, kaput. So that way we're saving money and there's nowhere to hide the other carbon tax either. So it was a really big week on that front for sure.
Well, I mean, Stephen Guilbeault said that Canada would go to hell in a handbasket if we did this.
Right. I will point out, because I really wanted to spike this football here.
Yep.
It is really rich, to your point too, is exactly that 5 minutes ago, these same people were calling us, people who are calling for the carbon tax to be gone, calling us climate deniers, which of course is a disgusting term because it's akin to Holocaust denial, which is horrendous. So because we wanted them to scrap the carbon tax, that's the kind of language they were throwing around like 5 minutes ago. Remember when Trudeau jetted down to that Up With People conference in Brazil like a few months ago on taxpayers' money?
It's hard to keep track, but...
Well, at that one, he said that paying his carbon tax should be a priority over feeding your kids or paying rent.
Oh, yes, that's right. He did say...
Remember that one? So, yeah,
that's
it's
the problem
important.
with these guys is that you can't keep it all straight. There's so
there's
many things like that. Yeah.
So what I'm happy about, truly, is that normal, everyday working Canadians were like, no. How about no? We don't care that you're calling us these horrible names. We don't care that you're saying stupid things like if you take a road trip with your family, you're letting the planet burn. Like absolutely dumb things. They said, how about no?
Do you want to see that clip?
Yeah, could you? Sorry, Sean. Just taking over Sean's show. Oh.
You've depressed me anyways. This whole
so
Edmonton
sorry.
Oiler thing, I just, let's make it Chris and Twos today.
I truly wanted to check on you, though.
The future of the planet. Right? Don't worry, kids, about climate change. Don't worry about taking action on the planet. Enjoy your 10 hours in the car and let the planet burn.
Oh, God. What
Yeah,
a
so that's
jackass.
longtime member of Parliament Mark Holland from Ontario.
Yep.
Again, saying all these things. So, oh, thanks, Ash. I'm really not. I'm just riffing off of my friends, but I appreciate that. So this is where it gets frustrating, but happy in the same way, because normal people have forced this issue. Normal people have said, we don't want to pay this anymore. It's not helping the planet. It's just costing us a ton of money. So axe it. So they made, like, the godfather of carbon taxes, Mark Carney, they made that guy admit that the carbon tax is radioactive. That is an achievement. It really is politically an achievement. Now we got to make sure that it's really gone and not just hidden.
Before we slide in anything else, we're going to bring in our next guest because I know he is only here for, I don't know, is it even 10 minutes? So MLA of Lac St. Anne Parkland, Shane Getson, hops on the show. Shane, thanks for giving us a couple minutes today.
Hey, Shane.
Hey, folks. How is it going?
Hey, sir.
Minus the Edmonton Oilers having the prime minister in their jersey, yeah, I think we're somewhere. But I'm not gonna bring us all back into that. We want to hear your thoughts.
We could.
Nope. Twos, I'm gonna nuke you off the show if you bring it up again. I tell you what, we want to talk about Danielle Smith, Kearney, Alberta, this whole relationship. I don't know. Twos, did I get that right? Shane, your thoughts? Or both.
Well, I'm kind of jumping in the deep end here, not knowing the context. So obviously I can't.
We haven't set a context yet. We haven't even gotten into it at all.
Well,
So
maybe
the
I'll
floor is yours.
avoid a bit of a poison pill on that one. So I can't speak for the Premier on her relationship. What I can say is that there was an initial meeting that took place at the QE2 the other day. And I think the Premier made a press release on it, was pretty articulate of what our concerns and demands were for going forward with a relationship. Obviously, she wants to work with whoever the PM is, but regardless of what party or who the PM is, it's the same things. We cannot continue forward in the Confederation like we have in the last 10 years, or this thing's going to come apart at the seams. We're done. It has to reset. It has to go in place. We've seen the issues as soon as our largest trading partner, can intonate any tariffs or anything else, that it has a profound impact, not just on our province, but our country. And if we had our way with the Wayback Machine, if we just would have continued on the same path that Harper was setting us up for, we literally would have been the energy superpower in the world right now. And we would have had all the energy secured that we needed. We would have had a ton of the manufacturing back here, all of those things, the logistics items would have been in place. So that's really where we're at. It's dealing with what we have right now in a hurry up offense to make sure that this thing literally works. And that blessed carbon tax is absolutely hamstringing everybody out there. And if we don't pay attention to the folks, everyday Albertans, everyday Canadians out there that are a hair's breadth away from losing their stuff, that this thing comes apart. Like, you can have all the great platitudes of saving the environment and all the other BS that doesn't work. But if you don't allow people to live and make some money and keep their money and reduce the damn taxes, we're all at our wits' end. This is enough. So that's what we got to fix in the relationship. It has to be open, honest, sober, and practical. Forget all the pie in the sky BS, because it's not right what people need. And quite frankly, it's not working.
I like it. Now, it's the tweet that she put out after the meeting said, just to really quickly hit a couple points on it: guaranteeing Alberta full access to oil and gas corridors to the north, east, and west, repealing Bill C-69, lifting the BC coast tanker ban, limiting oil and gas emissions cap, which you should definitely talk about Bill C-45, because I'm really interested in hearing more about that. Scrapping the so-called clean electricity regulations, ending prohibition on single-use plastics, abandoning net zero car mandate, retaking oversight of the industrial carbon tax of the provinces, halting federal censorship of energy companies. Mm-hmm. Now, it was really good. It was laying out a lot of things that we've been upset about for a long time, but it comes across as kind of a threat, I guess you could say. And what's the stick attached to it? Is there a stick attached to it?
Mess around and find out.
Fair enough.
Like, here's the challenge, guys. Like, we're the nice cities, we've been trying to play nice for years. We're at a point where your country might come apart at the seams if you don't allow the provinces to work together, and if you don't take away these arbitrary restrictions. The rest of the world will eat our lunch, and moreover, we will not be solvent as a country. Like, this is profound. The whole economic corridor model, making sure we've got our transportation logistics sorted, this is real. The Arctic context, this is real. The things that we've been talking about for years, they've come to roost. So when I've got, the newly minted trade minister from British Columbia, who's hardcore left and has protested every pipeline ever conceivable, that's how he got elected, is coming up going, do you think Alberta is interested in building pipelines again? I said, welcome back to 2009. Yeah. Like, you guys have to suck it up, Buttercup, and allow us to actually get some stuff done and fast track jobs, not 12 years to get a pipeline built or have industry take all the risk. Give me some secured corridors, make sure that we can put these things in place, and come hell or high water, get the damn thing built again like we used to within 3 to 4 years. This has to happen. At the meantime, we've got to sort out all the issues that are taking place down south and stop the rhetoric. Like when the elephants start to dance, get off the damn floor. Don't keep throwing peanuts out there and kicking them in the knees. Like, get this stuff settled out, because it's impacting not only our energy guys, our farmers, our manufacturing, it's also impacting our friends and relatives across the border. No one wins from this. So we've got to get these things sorted out, get that policy settled out, and get back to what's real. Kitchen table politics where you talk to people rather than talking about them on Twitter. So this really has to sink in. I'm sorry, I'm a little frustrated. Been working on this file for a while. Don't want to put any intonations in what the Premier says, but this is real, you guys. And whomever, whether he's a carny or a clown, I don't care. Whoever's leading the country had better figure out that this is no longer something to mess around with. And if you want to keep putting in all these nice WEF agendas, it comes apart. Like, took a personal trip over to India just because to go over there. So my wife couldn't get out of her clinic. She was busy. So because I'm a geek, I go to conferences. I went to the energy conference, end up down in Mumbai, dealing with Bollywood guys and a ton of engineering companies, end up dealing with the Broda Council of Productivity. The realities are, firstly, is air quality. So air quality over in Mumbai was 116. They called it moderate pollution. That's the same as what we have for air quality when there's a forest fire taking place. This is what people are sucking in every single day. This is what's going on. When they have a religious event, they kind of had a pilgrimage, 450 million people show up. Like, the impacts that they have over there in that part of the planet is profound. The same air quality at that time as 116 over there. It's 2 back in Alberta. We could shut everything down, hold your breath for the next 20 generations. It will not have the same impact as us getting our natural gas over to India, helping them with their homeless situations, and making sure that they can actually have clean cooking fuel to do these things. This is it. We want to play something in the world stage, take our technology and our energy that they actually want and get it to them. They're going to be consuming 25% of the entire world's energy supply within the next 5 to 10 years. They want our stuff. And we've had an administration that's been blocking us. Germany wants our stuff. Northern Europe wants our stuff.
Japan
wants our stuff. All these places came to us first. And while I'm over there, Trump has got Modi. And the only reason why Modi wasn't at this energy conference, which 3 years ago didn't exist, and they've got 70,000 people showing up at these conferences. Like, the only reason why their president wasn't on stage is because he was meeting with President Trump at the time to do another $10 billion deal in gas. So we have to be realistic on what we can provide to the world. Taxing ourselves into the poorhouse will not do a thing for any of these big countries that really are just wanting us to be a secure supply of energy for them. Clean energy.
Is it safe to say, Shane, we go back to, I think it was 2021 when you first started talking energy corridors and things like that, with the news coming out that it sounds like there's going to be an election announced Sunday, we're going to get to that after you're off. But, there's this sense that possibly the Liberals have a shot with Carney, and don't mean to pull you into all that. But, when I hear Danielle Smith come out with strong wording and I hear you come up with strong wording, I think everybody's like, folks, we got to take this seriously, because obviously if Carney gets in, there's going to be some sentiment out here. But what direction that points for Canada doesn't bode well for the things we're talking about right now.
No, if they keep, and make no mistake, Trudeau was not the brains behind the operation, like, for crying out loud. Look at who was directing that guy for years. And if Pinocchio got off the strings and started to go in his own way, that was so bad and so egregious that they finally stepped in and stepped into the limelight themselves. But make no mistake, those policies were not dreamt up by Trudeau. We already know who his advisor was. We already know he's standing out front now as our PM that's unelected, basically, other than the Liberal Party. So 150,000 people voted for him. Put it in context, it's maybe 2 or 3 constituencies in the province of Alberta. So the guy leading our country right now as PM with our Westminster system, thank goodness we're going to have an election if he has a mandate. My concerns are, people have been watching the news too much, and they're like a bunch of cats chasing after a laser pointer, and anything you say bad against the US right now is going to get you political points and get you in the door. So the team rhetoric, Team Canada rhetoric, everyone's all pumped up. We just won a hockey game. We're going to carry that through and then shoot ourselves in the foot for the next 4 years. That is my God's honest truth concern. So folks, don't step away from being all heightened and I don't know, emotional about their decisions.
And maybe tune into the mashup, hey, Twos, because we certainly talk a different brand on this side.
Yeah.
Shane, I assume you got to hop out of here in 1
Yeah,
minute.
I've
Yes.
got to jump on the call with
Okay.
my boss.
Any final thoughts before we let you out of here? Appreciate you giving us a few minutes today.
Yeah, I guess the other one I would throw out there, honestly, is hope. Like a number of us are working pretty hard on this. We'd met with a bunch of the farmers and ag guys yesterday, and I went through some of the items that we're working on here, the interactions we've had with our counterparts in the US, really what the big range plan is, and that gave people hope. This too shall pass. The elephants are dancing on the floor. Relax, step back from it, do what you can, hold down your corner of whatever part of the world you're in right now, and take a couple deep breaths. This too shall pass. And hopefully we get enough sober-minded Canadians down east that vote out this administration that put us in this place for the last 10 years. That's my God's honest truth. Hope for everybody in Canada to do that. And remember, beating up your best friend doesn't make you tough in the parking lot. It just makes you look stupid, quite honestly. So we got to remember who our true friends and allies are in all of this.
Shane, appreciate you hopping on today and
Thanks
giving
very
us
much.
a few moments.
This is
Thank
probably
you.
my favorite appearance you've done on the show. Well done.
Yeah, compress my time and get me going from one crisis to the next. You get a pretty unvarnished version too. So take care, guys.
Thanks, Shane. You know, Twos, it's kind of what I tell you all the time. When you just meander and you don't go full twos, all of us sit here and go like, what is Twos talking about? Like just poke it already and let's go and let's stop talking for an hour and a half. You give Shane Getson 10 minutes. He comes in and literally says, fuck around and find out, folks. I'm like, oh boy, here we go.
Look, that was a great speech you just gave.
Oh, that was a great speech. Oh yeah.
Okay.
Let's go, Twos. All right, Twos. Come on, Twos.
Speaking of keeping it tight. What I love is that we've finally got people in Alberta who are openly mad about how bad things have been from Ottawa for us here. Shane looked furious. He looked like he was going to reach through the screen and punch Sean. I kind of hope he would sometimes. And this was great. The fact that we've got the people that are supposed to be representing us and whatever you think of that, regardless. But the point is their job to be looking after our interests, which are at odds with what Ottawa wants, and they're done being polite about it. I love it.
Well, maybe they're starting to realize what we've been shouting about for a while, and that is the fact there's about to be an election, by looks of it, called on a Sunday, Twos, and this whole, we're just going to drive the boat, and we're not going to rock it, and we're going to get to a conservative government, and on we're going to go. Wait a second. Enter Mark Carney, and everybody's got this chill going up their spine like, holy crap, are we about to have the Liberals for 4 more years and have the WEF guy be our prime minister? You don't think me and you, among others, have been talking about different things for the life? What has it been? It's been a year.
Mm-hmm.
It's been a while.
Mm-hmm.
And so, it's nice to see, but it's funny. We've been talking about this, and it's time to maybe for, I don't know, Pierre Polyev to get in front of some things and start talking about some things. Instead, he's playing this like we're going to navigate the boat through. Well, navigating the boat through could lose you the election.
I figured if anything, you'd be happy to have an Edmonton Oiler in charge.
Yeah. Yeah. You got, I don't know. Chris, you've been around this a ton with election possibly getting announced Sunday.
Mm-hmm.
Everything points to that. I would say I'm always skeptical, but with everything really starting to, all the noise is pointing to Sunday. This is coming. You're starting to see different signs like the NDP talking about it and different sources. What are your thoughts?
I do think it's likely going to happen on Sunday because I'm hearing from people who, for example, they work at airports and stuff, and they're saying that the team plane is getting wrapped. The Conservatives are finalizing who's allowed on the campaign plane and not. Usually that means that they're ready to go from different party perspectives. I will point out, just not my CTF role right now, but my experience in elections. There is sometimes a reason why political leaders hold their cards back until they're actually in the campaign. And I will put this out there as an example. I don't know if you saw that
There's
Mark
4
Carney,
of them.
Exactly. Mark Carney has said he too will get rid of the GST on homes valued under $1 million. Who said that before? Right. Pierre Polyev. This happens all the time where one party will eat the lunch of the other party. And so that is why they're pretty loath to give details before the writ is dropped, because they don't want them stealing their ideas. I will point out again, Pierre Poilievre coming out and saying no carbon tax at all, meaning no industrial carbon tax. He is the first major political leader to ever say that, like ever. We just finished writing a book at the Canadian Taxpayers Federation on the carbon tax, the rise and
Oh,
fall
now it's
of
already
it.
out of date.
Right, exactly. We had to keep updating it like every week. It was wild, and so it's still out of date. But we had to, push send on this thing. And so, the really important element here is that there are campaign promises already coming out. This isn't a taxpayers issue exactly, but I just finished listening to Poilievre say to Getson's point. Remember where he said we can't have companies waiting around forever, waiting for approvals. Poilievre came out with a policy saying we're going to have pre-approved zones all over Canada where we already do all of that work. And then it's just ready for any investor to see and assess if they want to put money into it. And it's already green lit. So they do all the environmental stuff. They do all the consultation stuff beforehand without the business sitting there bleeding money and hanging on the line. So there are really solid proposals coming out right now. What's going to be key, I think, from a taxpayer's perspective, is can they keep the topic on exactly what Getson just mentioned? The fact that people are broke. They can't afford things. So this whole idea of like who said what when and who's fibbing and who's not, that's interesting for political nerds to watch the play-by-play. But I do think normal people are going to be asking themselves, am I better off now than I was 4 years ago? That's a pretty simple question.
It's really interesting because, there's this clip of Carney saying that basically the reason why Canada is in this economic situation right now is because of the tariffs and not anything to do with the past 9 years before it. It's like a 400-pound woman saying that the reason why she got fat was because she put sprinkles on the last cupcake she ate.
Not all the other cupcakes that she ate.
Exactly.
Yeah, sure. I will point out just the sheer numbers here are staggering. Okay. Like the announcement yesterday, that was a total slap in the face, I will point out. So Premier Daniel Smith is sitting down, hammering out exactly what the problems are with newly selected Prime Minister Mark Carney of this, exactly what Getson was talking about. And meanwhile, the environment minister says, yeah, that cap that is choking off your energy sector, we're keeping it there. Enjoy. That cap on Alberta's energy is blowing a $20 billion hole in the Canadian economy. That cap is slashing 40,000 jobs. Just that one cap. This is not including the No More Pipelines bill. This is not including the tanker ban. None of that other nonsense. Just this one cap. And that number is from the Parliamentary Budget Officer. So this whole Team Canada thing, let's fight Trump and all this stuff. Okay, sure. Show me that you mean it. Because us having to go on American television networks and admit, like a child who has not done their homework for 10 years, yeah, we don't have a pipeline that actually goes across our own country from Alberta to our port. Like, come on, man. So they can do all the whole elbows up sloganeering they want. But the fact of the matter is restrictions like Bill C-69 and the cap on Alberta energy costs taxpayers billions and billions and billions of dollars just in tax dollars. I'm not even touching the investment part.
But
isn't it funny? Just real quick, isn't it funny that the people who are always saying elbows up the loudest look like they have really bad body odor?
Twos. Sean, why?
Why do I do this? Yeah, he irritates me too, Chris. I'm glad you're starting to see it.
I'm sorry I ganged up on you earlier in the show.
Yeah, you should be. Been trying to find my footing ever since Chris Sims walks on the show and brings up the Oilers. It
did hurt, honestly. That sucks. That sucks. I think I might dislike this new guy more than Pocklington. It's a pretty close second.
Twos asked the question, and Shane's reaction was, FAFO, right? That's what his reaction was. But the truth of the matter is, when you're the Liberal Party of Canada looking at Alberta? It's a very valid question, because if Albertans don't actually rally around Danielle Smith and being like, hey, here's a stick, go whack Ottawa because we're done with this, then they can't keep doing this. Like all the things you listed off, I'm like, it's mind numbing where we're sitting at. And everybody always points to the numbers, but it's just like, go walk out your door, talk to the everyday person, and see where they're at right now. Lots of them not doing great. And Two's point is very valid. And you're the lady who always comes on and says, you got to email this, you got to talk to this person, you got to do that. It's like, well, the thing that Shane is alluding to, and I think when I read Danielle Smith's tweet, I'm like, she's getting ahead. If Mark Carney wins, there is going to be a giant tidal wave. And it was Rachel Parker who did the poll, right? That showed, what was it, 40%, 30 some percent of Albertans are talking about independence. Was it 40 or 30, Twos?
I never saw it.
Oh, what the heck? Okay. Well, anyways, it's a large number.
Kelly points out equalization is another sore spot. That's absolutely right.
Yeah.
Generally speaking.
And so if you don't have a stick, Carney gets to do exactly what they've done. I mean, this is what the Liberal Party's always done. They say one thing, they go in a meeting with Danielle Smith, and in the meantime, he goes and puts on the Oilers jersey and everything, and we all are like, what is going on? This is the way the Liberals have operated for 10 years now, and we're surprised? Like, no. I shouldn't be surprised. This is standard operating procedure. And Two's point, question is very valid, because we can sit here and go, oh, FAFO. But the truth of the matter is, until that actually comes, they're going to keep doing this over and over and over again. They've been doing it since 1905, for Pete's sake.
Did you see, I don't know if you guys covered this. I assumed you did. I haven't read it in detail, but it looks like Smith is now saying that federal agencies are no longer permitted at oil and gas sites, any energy sites, or where their data is even stored.
Yeah, so that's the bill C-45.
Yeah, if they try to go there, they will be trespassed, by I assume Alberta sheriffs. Like, this is getting, like, she said that days ago, before this meeting even went off the rails. So I do see a lot of people understanding that things like carbon taxes and energy caps and pipeline bans are just costing them through the teeth. What I think the difference is I think perhaps not enough people in the East understand how important Alberta's energy is to them, to their economic well-being, and how much money Alberta contributes to Confederation, exactly as your viewer was pointing out, through equalization. And so I think there needs to be more understanding of what the engine of our economy actually is, and things like oil and gas, and I will point out mining in places like Northern Ontario are really big deals, which is again why I point out these bans have to go, and this industrial carbon tax imposed from Ottawa has to go too. Because that industrial carbon tax not only costs us all a ton of money, because all of the cost comes down to us. Like, a company is not eating the cost of an industrial carbon tax. Sorry. No. Like, a fuel refinery ain't eating that. The fertilizer plant is not eating that cost. Same goes for a manufacturer. Okay. Huge cost to taxpayers. Second, it is chasing those factories south, especially if you're in Ontario and you can move. They're just going to go south where there is no industrial carbon tax. So, frankly, Ontario leadership better get off the bench when it comes to defending and getting rid of things like the industrial carbon tax imposed by Ottawa.
Well, I mean, we've got a few examples coming up in a little bit of just companies that are saying, we're out, we're moving to the States.
Well, and the thing is what I think a lot of us know, but maybe it doesn't get talked about near as much on shows. Maybe it's more behind the scenes. I don't know. But like, through COVID, there's a bunch of businesses leave, but there was also a bunch of businesses start. What if you bring up the BC company, Twos?
That's exactly it. Canadian
is that the one you got?
Assemble furniture supplier Prepack has reportedly shut down its manufacturing operations in Delta, British Columbia, shifting all production to its facility in North Carolina instead.
And so this is going to be a growing trend if things don't switch. And that is, through COVID, a bunch of companies started to get a second location, and they've started building. And it's like, well, if things don't improve, we're going to move operations south. So this isn't, you look at the tariffs and you go, this is all because of tariffs. Oh, maybe a little bit, but chances are the more you dig into it, lots of these companies have been working on this for years. And as they see things getting worse, not better, they're pulling pin, and they're going to go south. And that's going to speed up if things don't course correct. And in fairness, I just at this point, I'm like, you look at the election thing. It's really interesting. Like, okay, Doug Ford reelected in Ontario, right? Headline: Insiders say Pierre Poilievre called Doug Ford for advice, but the premier said he'll be staying out of the election. Enter Chrystia Freeland. And you're like, so he's wanting the Liberals in, I assume? Like, is that what's going on?
Well, presumably he hasn't exactly been a conservative on paper at all for a very long time. If you wanted to be really cynical about it, you could say that he got the shoulder tap and said, the Ontario Liberals have been getting a lot of bad press. We want you to just come in, pretend like you're a conservative for a little while, and then just start doing all the liberal things over again so that we have a fresh start without having to wait through another couple election cycles. Like, what has he done that's conservative at all lately? Even in the past few years, Chris?
So, I've spoken with Doug Ford many times. Rob Ford more. In fact, they had their show didn't last because Sun News got shut down and it was bumpy, but they actually had a show on my old network, Sun News Network, back when Rob Ford was still with us. And I will say that Rob Ford especially, and I believe Doug Ford, Premier Ford, to an extent too. I just didn't know him as well. I didn't talk to him as much, and people didn't know him as well at the time. Rob Ford especially was a populist, like a very in the trenches, let's go meet you on your driveway kind of person. Like, this is now lore, as the kids say, but it actually happened repeatedly. If somebody phoned up and said, hey man, I've been trying to get this pothole filled, on my driveway or my road for years and it's not working, blah, 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 blah. Rob Ford was the kind of guy to show up at that guy's house and say, hey bud, let's fix this. Here's my cell phone number. Next time I've got your back. Like, that's why he was so popular, even with his personal troubles. And so Doug Ford is, I would say, similar to that in like being a populist. And so this is why I'm fully expecting actually, especially since Doug Ford is trying to defend the so-called Ring of Fire, which is all of the rich mineral deposits up in Northern Ontario that's just waiting for mining companies to move in. I'm fully expecting Doug Ford to come out and say, an industrial carbon tax that is imposed from Ottawa on our people of Ontario. Heck no, that's not happening, because you're killing investment here. You're killing jobs here. And, he does kind of suit a hard hat more than some other politicians. So, and the way he talks, for example, when he goes down to the States on the networks, and he's a little bit more, hey man, how much you give me for Alaska? Like, he's a bit more of a guy's guy that way. So I don't know if ideologically, if he's, the conservative through and through, but he's very populist. He's always tried to be for people. And he did cut the fuel tax, for example, for a long time to save people a ton of money. Like it saved them billions of dollars. So that was a big deal. So I am expecting, I don't know about that Toronto Star article because I didn't actually read it. But I am expecting him during the campaign to come out against things like the imposed Ottawa industrial carbon tax. Because why wouldn't he? It's a no-brainer.
A couple things before we let you out, Chris. One, Evan Solomon's it sounds like he's gonna run for the Liberals, and Amarjeet Sohi, mayor of Edmonton, is going to run for the Liberals as well. Couple thoughts on that, or twos, feel free to hop in on that as well.
Go ahead, Chris. I'm going to go scorched earth if you leave anything for me to touch.
I'll let you go scorched earth on this, twos, because I've known Evan for a long time and I was his producer for years. So,
you were his producer?
Sure was. Yeah, we had a great show, talk radio show in Ottawa. It was national, actually.
Okay, well then, I know twos is going to go scorched earth, but on June 9th, 2015, the CBC announced it ended its relationship with Solomon following allegations that he secretly pocketed $300 from commissions of art sales, one of which the art sales ties to who? Or fearless leader Carney. Your thoughts on that?
So, I worked very well with Evan. And I will say, okay, I'll set it up this way, okay? I was fresh off of Parliament Hill. He was fresh off of what you just said, okay? and we both wound up in the same radio talk show studio. Okay, kind of looking at each other because he's the CBC TV host, and I was just, fresh from Sun News Network and the election campaign. So a little bit different. We got along wonderfully. He was super intelligent, super kind. I have nothing bad to say about the man. Like, we had a wonderful working relationship. He was nice to my kids. Like, honestly, I'm going to have to take the fifth on this one because I got along great with Evan. And our differences in perspective made for, I would say, an outstanding radio show. Because whenever, I'd be sitting there like this with the microphone, and he's the host. I'm his producer, and I'm kind of his backstop for like, what was that guy's name, or what year did that happen? And I would just say it. Every now and then when he'd start going a little bit, over to the left-hand side of the highway, I just look at him and he'd pull it back over, or he'd laugh, and we'd have a great interaction. So I will say, this is the one anecdote I will share. And again, it was great working with him. He is from a very integrated and well-connected group of people in Toronto. Like, he runs in a different circle than I ran in growing up in Western Canada. I remember once we were walking through the mall, and the store Harry Rosen, like in the mall. I thought that was just like a store name. No, like, his family knew Harry Rosen's family in Toronto, who was a person.
Oh.
There you go. I did not know that. And he's just like kindly, casually telling me this while he's doing 8 things on his phone because we were getting ready for his live show. And I'm like, all right, man. So he works in a different circle when it comes to that stuff. I was surprised to see the announcement, but honestly, like, he's never been anything but kind to me. And I will say our coverage of the Fort Mac fire was outstanding. He talked to people for 4 days that I lined up, guys who were rescuing pets in their trucks, refilling people's vehicles like in an emergency situation. So, it's one of those things where I'm not going to pile on, but go ahead, Twos.
Okay. All right. Well, I guess this
you guys didn't know that, exactly. I guess.
No, I didn't. I didn't.
Okay.
And I guess this is probably going to add to it a little bit, but he kind of seemed to me almost like a nearly as good version of Vashi Kapelos, where, he actually would get in some good questions here and there every once in a while where you're like, oh, okay, yes, that's exactly the kind of question that I would expect to hear in this situation. And the thing that really irritates me about these panels and the softballs coming from legacy media is it's just like, you're leaving the obvious question out there. Why aren't you asking the obvious question? And it's because it doesn't have an easy answer. I assume it's happened too many times to be any other reason. And he didn't always do it, but every once in a while I'm like, and he's left-handed, and I gotta, it's camaraderie thing. But this is a guy who, presumably after the talk radio stint, went and worked for Eurasia Group with Mark Carney's wife. And it just, I guess it ties in real neatly with this whole running in a different circle, where he seems to be exactly the kind of person that I would expect in the Liberals, where it's a lot more about connections than community, I would say. It's a lot more about knowing the right people with the Harry Rosen suits than it is about working with the people in steel-toed boots. Oh, I did the Polyev rhyme. But yeah, that's my take on it. And Amarjeet Sohi, real rags to riches story. I mean, this guy went from bus driver to federal minister to mayor of his city. And it's just, you got to just really appreciate the success story that he's had. And it's too bad that his approval rating is so dismal in Edmonton right now after his absolutely poor job of running things for the past couple of years, that he thinks his best aspirations are in federal politics now because he sucks at being a mayor. Probably because he's a bus driver.
Chris, thanks for hopping on today.
Thank you so much for letting me.
We could literally keep you here for an hour and a half, and I don't think either of us, nobody watching, would be opposed. But we got to talk about Canada dropping to the 18th happiest place in the world, and a whole bunch of other things. I got to try and steer this thing to an end point at some time. And at some point, I'll probably have to suffer through some Edmonton Oilers talk again. I'm going to try and skip it, but we've beat that horse, I think. But regardless,
Oh,
Tuesday's
no, no,
gonna
no.
do it.
We're
Tuesday's-
going to the
yeah,
conference final on that.
Yeah, that's what I kind of figured.
Thanks, gentlemen.
Yes, thanks, Chris.
Chris.
Chris
Always
Sims,
a pleasure.
Alberta Director, Canadian Taxpayers Federation. Twos, let's fire this thing up. I
let's
literally told him before we started. I'm like, oh yeah, we got a quick show today.
Oh yeah, it's
An
gonna
hour
be quick.
15. Yeah, gonna be quick. Yeah. And then
I knew you were
he
full of crap.
jibber jabbers like that the entire time.
I jibber
folks.
jabber like
You
that.
do.
Okay.
You literally jibber jabber the entire time. Carry
What are
on.
we doing right now? What are we doing?
I'm
what's
trying to make a point
This?
about
Is
how
this
much
the
you jibber
jibber
jabber.
or is this the jabber?
This is the jabber. Canada drops to
about to get the
18th in
jabber.
2025 World Happiness Report ranking. It slipped to 18th place back in 2015. I don't know what happened back then. We were number 5. Okay,
This
went from
is
5.
so
Now we're at
crazy.
18.
I mean, could you just imagine just completely inexplicably moving over the Liberal tenure, dropping so many points back? Look at that. Look at that. It's almost parabolic. I don't know. It's just so strange. You know, the weirdest thing about that whole thing is that if you go into the analytics on it, one of the determining factors, like, because I'm looking at it and I say, okay, well, why did they decide that it was better then and worse now? How did they measure this? And one of the things is perceived corruption. And I'm like, oh, there we go. That would totally crater the whole thing. A little bit of SNC Lavalin and all of a sudden through the floorboards. No. Basically, it was doing that poorly, despite the fact that Canada still is lagging in terms of international perception on its corruption. Despite all of the chicanery with the Green Slush Fund, with more conflict of interest convictions than the entire tenure of this country combined in the last 9 years. Despite all of that, it didn't affect the numbers.
Yeah, this isn't going to help us either. Canada should raise retirement age to 67 to address labor shortages.
Yeah. Can I just go ahead and say that we need to make the retirement age higher? We absolutely, this is so interesting thing. When we first brought in the Canada Pension Plan, it was at 65, and the median life expectancy in Canada was 63. So the idea of it basically was that if you've already lived longer than you're expected to, than you were expecting to, than you were planning on, there's just a little bit of a stopgap there to keep you from dying in the streets. There's a little bit of money so that you can stay with a roof over your head for the last couple of years of your life if you've already lived 2 years longer than you were expected to. What's our life expectancy now? 81, something like that. Let's have that pension kick in at 83. Now, before everybody jumps on me, I'm not saying for everybody who's like about to retire, but if you're 15, you should just plan on retirement kicking in at 83. And then you've got your whole career.
What's your
to plan
thoughts on
for it.
just not sending money to the CPP or the APP or whatever they want?
Well, it's a lousy return on investment, and you would be much better off opting out and getting.
Why am I waiting? Why am I relying on my government to make sure I don't die in the street?
Well, that's the thing, is it wasn't relying on them. It was just here's just a little bit. And now it's snowballed into this thing where people are like, this is how I'm planning on spending my last several decades. And you need to make it good or I'm gonna be mad. No, motherfucker. This was supposed to be just enough to keep you out of a fucking dumpster.
Amy Ham. Amy Ham is a National Post columnist and Canadian Women's Sex-Based Rights. She's the co-founder of that. I have lost my case with the BC College of Nurses and Midwives. A 3-member panel found me guilty of unprofessional conduct for sharing my views on sex and gender ideology in a manner that they have ruled as at times discriminatory and derogatory towards transgendered identified persons. One of the complaints made against her included "I love J.K. Rowling" billboard in Vancouver that a friend and her commissioned.
Yeah, God forbid you appreciate good, like, they're some of the best books written in a very long time. I don't know if I'd put them as like up there with goats, but some of the best books you're ever going to read are probably going to be the Harry Potter books. What's wrong with liking J.K. Rowling? Oh, what? Because she thinks that boys have a penis and girls have a vagina? Why don't you take Kindergarten Cop into a fucking tribunal?
Chandra Arya. I have been informed. I probably butchered that name. I have been informed by the Liberal Party that my nomination as the candidate for an upcoming federal election in Nepean has been revoked. Here, I'll pull up the letter.
Yeah. I am writing on behalf of National Campaign Co-Chair, who has conducted a thorough review of your eligibility to serve as a candidate for the Liberal Party of Canada in the riding of Nepean. After careful consideration based on a review of new information by the chair of the Green Light Committee, the National Campaign Co-Chair is recommending the revocation of your status as a candidate. Unfortunately, based on that recommendation, your status as a candidate for the Liberal Party has been revoked. This guy has been with them through 3 elections. This is the guy who wanted to run for leadership, but they wouldn't let him run because he wasn't the right skin color. And now, not only that, he's not the right skin color for him to even stay on as member of parliament, assuming that he was able to win the election. This tells me this does not bode well for Poilievre. Because if you go back a month ago, we had dozens. We were constantly doing the rats fleeing the sinking ship of the week. And they needed to keep on anybody and everybody that they could. And now, presumably, the only thing that makes sense, because they would keep this guy no matter how dirty he was, because that's their playbook. So the only reason why they're getting rid of him is because somebody else wants that nomination. And if somebody else wants that nomination, that means that somebody else thinks that the Liberals have a decent chance of winning and enough that they're willing to kick out an incumbent. So they've got prospects coming up the wazoo right now.
I think you can just see it in the tea leaves, you know. Shane Getson has confirmed it for me again today. Me and you talked before the show started. Daniel Smith's tweet saying all the things that I think Albertans have been saying now a lot longer than my life, you know, my lifetime on this show or what have you, right? They've been screaming about this. Her putting that forward, Shane coming on and saying the things he did. I think the growing feeling is that the Liberals have some wind in their sails.
Yeah.
And people are trying to, and maybe they've sat for too long.
in their different spheres are reacting to it in different ways.
Yes.
And here out west, it's crazy because we think that Poilievre is just going to be the magic bullet, and he's
a
really
slam dunk
not.
going to win.
But he's going to be the magic bullet to just solve everything wrong with Canada, right? If we could just get Poilievre in, we can save this country. The fuck we can.
Yeah, but
okay?
But 3-4 months ago, we sat here and it was just like it was a foregone conclusion he was getting a supermajority. In walks Carney, and that's flipped the entire thing on its head right now, or at least that's the way it looks. And if Vesper was listening, he'd probably come on here and yell at both of us, and he would say something similar to what Chris Sims said, that they're holding all their cards close to their chest so that he can't go on and on and on and on. And it's like, well, I don't know. To me, what you're seeing is conservatives everywhere are nervous, and probably rightfully so.
Well, I mean, really, like how much is going to change? See, here's the thing is like when you look at this from a Western perspective, do you want to vote for the party that will actively undermine the abilities of your family, community, and industry from thousands of miles away because they hate you? Or do you want to vote for the party that will actively undermine the abilities of your family, community, and industry from thousands of miles away because the system you're in was designed to make your voice irrelevant compared to everyone else's?
What do you think of Maxime? What do you think of Maxime Bernier being on Patrick Bet David, and possibly, is it Joe Rogan? Has somebody can fire it off in the comments if we found out? But supposedly he's doing a big podcast in Texas. Everybody looks to it being Joe Rogan. Whether or not that's true, I don't know.
I feel like if Joe Rogan had people in Canada talking to him, he probably wouldn't have Bernier on. But because he doesn't, maybe Bernier's hoodwinked him enough to do it. Because here's the thing is like, He's not trying to win. His entire shtick for the past several years is that he's an outsider. Nobody lets him work on this on an even front, and that the game is rigged against him. And you've talked about it before. Just suck it up and do a better job, and you're actually going to get a seat at this table. There's so many valid arguments to make against the Conservatives, right? Like if you get a chance to meet your Conservative MP after this writ drops, you need to ask them focused provincial questions. Because if you ask him what he'll do for Canada, he'll tell you more simple slogans about not doing dumb things that tank the market. Fair enough. And if you ask him what he'll do locally, he'll say something about funding for a swimming pool. They all do it. No one's going to take any umbrage with this. But those aren't the things you need to ask him. You need to ask him about provincial issues, because that's where the rubber meets the road. Ask him about Alberta and Saskatchewan getting their own pension plans, collecting taxes locally, getting away from the RCMP. Ask him if he's going to fix equalization. And spoiler alert, Poilievre already said he wouldn't. And keep in mind that when you ask this, anything other than a one-word yes is a no from a politician, because that's where the friction is. He'll be able to get the money for a library. That won't make Ontario mad. He can fix international relations, because that won't piss off gosh darn Quebec. If you tell a Conservative MP out west that you're one of the people who makes the golden eggs, and you're tired of a bunch of lazy baguette suckers in tight jeans and felt berets getting all the omelets, that's not a fight he's going to be willing to take on. Sure, he'll tell you that you have to vote for him if you want the Liberals gone. The government is about as strong as, that argument is about as strong as New Brunswick's economy. All that is a reason to not vote Carney. We don't ask much of these federal employees. They have to work nearly 100 days a year. In exchange, they get hundreds of thousands of dollars, all expenses paid, and a pension worth its weight in 2020 toilet paper. It's a pretty good deal. And I'm not going to give that gig to someone who isn't going to pull their own weight. No more corporate bailouts to Laurentian losers. Fix the Eastern money train, and don't hamstring the people you're paid to pretend to represent. It's that simple. A vote for Western Conservatives is a vote for more of the same, because when it all comes down to it, they have nothing to gain federally by fairly representing you. So if you get to talk to any of these people wanting to go to Ottawa, you ask them the tough questions about whether or not they'll represent you instead of some poutine-faced goof with a thin mustache and varnished fingernails. And they're all politicians, so anything other than a direct yes is a no, because the rest of Canada already has enough paid representatives. They don't need ours.
Tesla.
All right, well, this is great. Protesters gather
yes,
at Ottawa Tesla dealership calling out Musk and Trump. They're threatened. They see blood in the water, the blood of their countrymen. Ottawa is mad about Tesla. What has Elon Musk been doing lately? What has his main focus been? He's shoring up government waste and government corruption. And so who in the entire country would be more mad about the idea of normalizing getting rid of government waste and corruption? Ottawa.
Breaking. DOJ charges 3 in connection with domestic terrorism attacks to Tesla. Oh, that's part of this Tesla thing. There's a whole bunch actually going on with the Tesla. There's the protests in Ottawa, and then there's domestic terrorism, and then Tesla's been also removed from Vancouver Auto Show on the eve of the event. Organizers announced Tuesday, quoted, the Vancouver International Auto Show has removed Tesla as a participant in this week's event after the automaker was provided multiple opportunities to voluntarily withdraw.
You can quit if you want to. You can quit if you want to. You're fired.
You're fired.
Yeah,
that's right.
Yeah, which is basically what Doge is doing to people in the government who don't do anything. And that's why everybody's so mad about it. That's it. They look at this and they say, well, if they take away, like, they're shutting down their entire industry, the same way that the tanker ban and the No More Pipelines Act comes after the people in our part of the country and their way of life. Elon Musk is doing the same to people in Ottawa.
CBSA officers at Coots Port of Entry in Alberta seized 108 kilograms of cocaine from a commercial truck entering Canada from the U.S. on March 8th. a Calgary resident. I'm going to give everybody 3 seconds here to think what the last name of this
Guess
truck
his
driver
last
was.
name.
Just guess his last name. I want you to put it in the comments. I'm going to wait here for like 5 seconds.
Yeah. Just somebody write a guess for a last name in the comments.
They're probably
Come
a
on,
couple-
guys. There we go.
yeah.
First
It
name.
took one
Gets it right.
one guess. One guess. That's how bad this is. We got another drug bust on the border. We'll give you one guess what
Arshdeep
the last name
Singh
is.
Was
I'm
arrested
mean.
and charged. Yeah, with 108 kilos of cocaine at the border that we don't need to worry about securing.
Like,
And it's
you
funny
think-
because you'll see the leftists saying like, well, that's not coming from Canada to the United States. That's coming from the United States to Canada. And so it's definitely not a problem. Like, it doesn't matter what direction it's going through. This is the same argument either way. Also, I want to point out, Elisa says, have you taken a look at the Edison Motors guys? They're trying to build hybrid heavy duty trucks, and they're building a space in Golden, BC. We should look into that. We should see if
So he's being a smartass. Yes, we've had Chase on here multiple times. He's been on the podcast, and actually he's going to be in Calgary, Alberta, May 10th at the Cornerstone Forum, my event I'm putting on. We got a lot of time for Chase and Edison Motors. I just going back to the Singh thing and another drug bust. I'm like, you think he's going across the border? And the border agent looks at the last name and goes, "No, I don't think I should say it, but maybe I should say it." Yeah, like. You got drugs on your, you got any drugs on the truck? Why would you say that? It's like, well, the last like 50 drug busts, sing, sing, sing,
Mhm.
sing, 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 sing.
sing
right?
with me, sing for the year,
Oh my
sing for the
goodness.
laughter,
It's
sing for
wild.
the tears.
China.
China.
Foreign Affairs Minister Melanie Joly said Wednesday that China has executed 4 Canadians in recent months. The minister said all 4 were dual citizens, were all facing charges linked to criminal activities, according to China, linked to drugs.
Yes. Where do we get all our fentanyl from, Sean?
I believe it's China.
Yeah. So it's not that they're involved in drugs. It's that they're involved in drugs that happen in China, not drugs that happen in other countries. But I mean, this is assuming that they're guilty, which is a big assumption because you can't believe a damn word these people said. Remember when they put out the videos of people welding doors shut? You're like, what are the odds that that's a metal door and a metal frame? Right? I mean, like, could you weld your door shut if you wanted to? I couldn't weld my door shut. I could nail it shut. But anyways, assuming that they were guilty, they come into their country and they do things punishable by death, which was punished by death. If you break the law, here's the punishment. Punishment done. Okay, fair enough. Now you come to Canada, you try the same thing. You say you break the law, here's the punishment. You're free to go. And also you get a say in what happens in our Senate now.
Correct.
That's what happens in this country. That's what happens in their country. Correct. Who are we to say that one way is better than the other?
All right, let's do some rapid fire news. The federal Liberals are announcing nearly $100 million in humanitarian relief and governance support for Palestinians. You know,
yeah, $100 million. I mean,
chump change.
If the genocide has been going on this long, how is there anybody left to give the money to?
Carnead's Century Initiative, co-founder to Canada-U.S. Council. The Century Initiative, co-founded by Mark Wiseman, calls for a massive increase in Canada's immigration levels, with the ultimate goal of bringing the country's population to 100 million people by the end of the century. This Canada-U.S. Council, you may recall, okay, so they've added in Mark Wiseman, who wants 100 million in Canada, okay, over the next century, to the 18-person body, including former premiers Jean Charest, Rachel Notley. You get the point. These are the people.
Yep. Yeah. Just
Can't make
really, they're building a bad team on purpose.
Correct. Yeah. It's, you know, you have all those arguments about who should be on Team Canada. This is like, you know, the worst Team Canada you could form. Who would be on the worst Team Canada we could ever put together? We should have some fun with that too. Is we should do that and see what our answer.
If you were going to come
up
up with the worst possible people to put on this, who would you say?
Who would you say?
Elizabeth May, Sarah Hoffman. Well, Jagmeet Singh.
She who shall not be named.
Yep.
Hmm?
That's pretty much it. That was it.
Heathrow Airport closes after fire causes power outage. Hundreds of thousands of passengers face flight cancellations at Europe's busiest travel hub after a fire knocked out power to London's Heathrow Airport, forcing it to close for the day.
Now, I've got an interesting addition to that. The North Hyde Electrical Substation, where the Heathrow fire occurred on March 20th, 2025, is maintained by the National Grid, the UK's principal electricity transmission network operator. The National Grid's DEI efforts are well documented. The company emphasizes creating a workforce that reflects the communities it serves, embedding inclusion into its process, and fostering an equitable environment. All the usual acronyms you'd expect to see, alongside programs like Charging Our Future, DEI Engineering Scholarship launched to support underrepresented students in engineering field. It also conducts identification campaigns to track workforce demographics and runs training and mentoring programs to remove barriers for unrepresented groups. You know where you should have a couple barriers? How about right around where you had that big giant fire?
California couple deported after living in the U.S. for 35 years. An Orange County couple that came to the United States without authorization some 35 years ago, raised 3 daughters, and now have a new grandson, were deported to Colombia earlier this week, according to media reports.
Okay, 2 things. 1, I feel like you could have found some time to do the paperwork. They actually had to go check in on a regular basis with immigrations people to say, yeah, we're still here illegally. Yeah, everything's fine. No, we haven't gotten around to filing the paperwork. Okay, we'll see you in a couple weeks. They did that for 35 years. How much did that cost the taxpayers? Okay, and if the argument you're thinking at home, or maybe Sean, is that, you know what, they lived here for 35 years. Aside from illegally entering the country, they didn't break any laws. Well, this is and it's just it's evil that they got trapped in this net. Well, this net wouldn't have to be there if it wasn't for all of the other illegal immigration that had been going on. So pick your poison. Were they leeching off of government resources, or were they unnecessarily caught up in a trap because the people who wanted this to happen let it get so incredibly bad?
This is Brian Pasfumi. He says, how is this transparency? It seems that under Mark Carney, the PMO has done away with publishing daily itineraries. Here's an archive screenshot of when Trudeau was PM, and one I took from essentially today. And if he circled it to see what's missing, but essentially there's no itinerary. That's
also, right. Apparently that's no longer publicly available. You've got to log in with presumed press credentials or something like that to get access to it. You know, to stop people like us from attending things like this if we so-called wanted to, or, you know, if we wanted to. This one's fun.
Yeah, let's do the fun one. Yeah.
Now, this is, you may remember this guy. This is the guy who started the religion of not paying taxes, drinking beer, and listening to heavy metal. And this is him. This is an update from this guy, who, by the way, we still can't get on the show.
I have built my own instrument. It is a working rock band guitar. It is fucking sweet. All of these buttons are from like 6 different rock band guitars. You got the little toggle switch. This turns the note on, and it rings out for as long as you want, and then you just turn it off. Boom. I have 2 kill switches because the wiring is all fucked. You don't need to know about that. But it also works down here. You can even do bagpipes. Look at this.
For those of you listening along at home, he is standing in front of a giant wall of speakers.
Correct.
I feel like every time I see a video from this guy, we need to show it on the show.
Yeah, it's fun. It's it's a fun little, we're talking about just stupidity and government incompetence and just a whole bunch of other words that are just like, heavy on the soul, if you would. And you have
this
something
is
like
just
that.
Heavy on the metal.
That's right. Cody Bloys, Minister of Ag, I had a great conversation with dairy farmers of Canada this morning. Canada's supply management system plays a crucial role in maintaining our food sovereignty and ensuring a stable, secure food supply for all Canadians. I'm committed to maintaining a close and strong relationship with the sector as we navigate through the days ahead.
I think this is wonderful. We need more cartels of dairy in this country. I think that there should just be an unlimited number of cartels for dairy in this country, which would mean that there were no longer cartels and it would be an open market.
Elizabeth May calling out Rosemary Barton is something I didn't have on my bingo card this year, Tews.
How many times have you heard somebody say, I didn't have that on my bingo card this year? Like,
A lot.
As far as if the election rate gets dropped this weekend,
Yep.
it's going to be a Tews was right.
And you know what happens Sunday? So, folks, you know what happens Sunday when it gets dropped? The mashup begins preparation that you're going to all
For
hear
live
about on the
election
Friday
coverage.
next show on 151 of live election coverage and all the amazing things that are going to go down that day.
Oh,
No matter
yeah.
the outcome, right here, we're gonna
Mhm.
have a lot of fun.
Yeah.
I said we're gonna like
And
7
all
times,
bets
but-
are off for this election as far as I'm concerned. Like, I think the only reason why I was right, if I am right, is just dumb luck.
Well, Elizabeth May, Rosemary Barton asked a question to Carney about, his money.
About conflict of interest.
Thank you.
And he said that she needs to look inside herself and not come from a place of ill will. And everybody went after her on this, which is funny because, I mean, we've been saying that she sucks for a long time. And then she asks a fair question.
A fair question.
And here's the thing, though, is that you're not supposed to ask fair questions of the Liberals. I talked about how my big thing with the mainstream media is that the obvious question never gets asked. Well, here's one isolated instance of Rosemary Barton asking the obvious question, and everybody went after her the same way that they got mad when Trudeau put an Apple sticker over the HP logo on a laptop, because it's over the target, and that's why they're mad.
Kevin's right. The biggest live election coverage that doesn't suck ever. Yes.
Yep.
It's going to be a ton of fun. All right. Hungary bans LGBTQ plus pride events in public since children might be present. 136 to 27 was the vote in Parliament. And while it was going on, you can see in the video, he's talking, and opponents to it set off smoke bombs.
Yes, they set off a whole bunch of smoke bombs because it's a gender reveal thing, I guess. Also, this is just straight up terrorism. It is. It's if you're not going to do the exact thing that we want, we are going to fuck with you. The same way that they're doing it with Teslas, the same way any of this stuff, as soon as it starts not going their way, civil discourse is over. It's democracy as long as it's doing the things that we want to see happen. And if that isn't the case, then get out.
Yeah. Pretty wild. Pretty wild times.
Next one. Female Delta pilot strikes wing on runway during landing. And yeah. The plane had to be
the
saved
people
by
say they're like, I don't want to fly anymore. I'm like, I think it's just playing out on the mashup every week where you see things and you're like, oh my God. Like, yeah. The wing touched on landing. We almost had our second in almost as many weeks plane upside down landing.
So if you actually get into this, basically the wing touched the ground. She didn't notice. The male pilot took over, said, I have the control, and finished the landing. So anyway, it happened because she's a woman, and that's it. And I'm going to say that all of these are continuing to happen because they're women until you guys get rid of DEI stuff, because after DEI stuff, I can say, well, no, that person was qualified. But as long as this DEI stuff is around, I'm going to assume that every failing CEO who's a woman got the job because she's a woman. Every time it happens to a lesbian, it's because they're a lesbian. Every time it happens to an amputee. It's because they're an amputee and not because they were competent and things still just happened anyway.
It's funny, the radio cover the pilot, or sorry, ground control talking to the plane. It's like, people saw sparks off the wing. Oh, we didn't see anything. We didn't feel anything. You're like, that would be wild. You know, you see Toronto land upside down. You're like, hopefully that's not us. And then boom, bang. What? Well, there were sparks. Didn't see anything. It's like
You need those Jeep stickers. You know, the ones where when it's right side up it says no problem, then when it's upside down it says problem. We just need to put that on every plane that a woman is flying.
Oh man.
Until we get rid of DEI.
Happy news? Or do you got
Nope.
one more?
No.
You got that one. You got that one.
So
Yep,
what
okay.
you see here is the clearest illustration of why things are so messed up and why it cannot get any better until this asymmetry is addressed. Put simply, right wing has narrative dominance. This is a picture, and the circles are relative to size, and it's talking about the popularity of all these various podcasts. Joe Rogan being the biggest one, some of the other big ones: Jordan Peterson, Theo Vaughn, Asmongold, Candace Owens, Dan Bongino, Russell Brand, Ben Shapiro. The only decently sized one, which probably isn't even in the top 10, is Trevor Noah with the blue circle. And his big takeaway is not that these people are all self-funded. Like Joe Rogan just started the podcast himself. Theo Vaughn just started the podcast himself. And Theo Vaughn, if you listen to it, he's just a guy who tells jokes. That's it. Sometimes he interviews people. The fact that you think Theo Vaughn is in the far right tells me way more about you than it does about him. And anyhow, the big takeaway from this is that leftists, no, I still need this up for a second. The big takeaway from this is that leftists have small balls.
Happy news?
I think so. Yeah. We're at the Mammoth Tusk.
Okay, here. This Texas hunter's old stump find was actually a rare mammoth tusk. Imagine that, twos. That'd be freaking sweet.
Oh yeah.
And then the other one is, well, a couple here. Young Guns 3. Okay, listen. Do I understand this correct that they're bringing the original cast back for Young Guns 3? Or are they going to do something completely different? Because I'm like, listen, this has Young Guns and Young Guns 2.
Well, okay, so first
arguably,
yeah, okay, go ahead.
Is arguably one of very few shows that did a sequel and it was as good as the first. It's fantastic. Yep. The acting in it, everything about it is just slam dunk, bar none, amazing. Mm-hmm. Now they're going to put out a third, which I'm all for. Like I'm like Young Guns 3 would be super cool. I'm all for this, twos, unless they bring back the original cast, because then I feel like
you'd have to call it Old Guns.
Right.
And also, for those of you, like, so this is Emilio Estevez. So his dad is Martin Sheen, and his brother is Charlie Sheen. So they've collaborated together over the years. They did Men at Work, the classically underrated garbage comedy, and then they did Young Guns. And Charlie Sheen, I might have the movies mixed up, but Charlie Sheen wasn't in the sequel because it was in the first one that he got shot while he was taking a dump. So how is Charlie Sheen going to come back when he died 2 movies ago? And this isn't like a comic book movie where you can just re-alive somebody magically. So, and then, yeah, like these movies came out 40 years ago. So you're just going to call it like Old Guns?
I'm all for it. Like Young Guns, man, fantastic. He doesn't get shot in the crapper. He doesn't get shot in the crapper. He
does.
No,
he's
no,
in the crapper. He's in the crapper and he gets shot.
No. No.
He gets shot while he's in the crapper. It's
no. The dude's in the crapper and shoots him with the rifle.
Oh, I think you're right, actually.
Like, yes. Like, who are you? Okay, don't pick at me with Young Guns. Dead Guns, Kevin. That's right, Dead Guns. Regardless,
AIDS Guns with Charlie Sheen.
I don't know. I look at this and I'm just like, it's happy news because it's like a cool idea. But I think of like Dumb and Dumber when they brought the sequel back, and you're like,
yeah,
oh man, right? Like, maybe it's just past time that we don't do this. Another happy news: man lost at sea for 95 days survives by eating cockroaches, birds, and turtles. That's 95 days at sea, man.
I mean, he survived though, so I mean that was kind of cool, and he got to spend 95 days on the ocean. That's kind of nice. And then the other thing here, so there's some games going on in China right now, and Canada just set some kind of a new record for female pole vaulting. So here it is. This is Alicia Newman. And we don't want to get a copyright strike, so we'll take that off. But this is Canadian Olympian pole vaulter, Alicia Newman. And if we just look right here in the slow motion part, your cousin, Sean, has a really nice butt.
It's got a great name, and that's one heck of a jump, let me tell you. Or a vault. I'll tell you. Yeah, pretty cool. Here's something that Tuz didn't know about. I literally just got it while we were sitting here. There is the new look of the soon-to-be new SMP website. So there's this has been a long time coming. If you don't know the backstory, I got my website stolen by we're not exactly
Chinese
sure.
Gambling website.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. So
and
is the password going to be something better than password 12345 this time?
yeah, that's right. It's I tried buying it back. They won't even respond. It's a weird story that probably some other day I'll tell all. But regardless, we're in the middle of building back a new website, so that's pretty cool. And looking forward to seeing that live. Community notes. Cornerstone Forum is right around the corner, May 10th. Somebody asked about Edison Motors. Chase Barber is going to be there speaking. And so that's just one of the many. Chris Sims on the show today. She's going to be there. She's one of the guest hosts. She's going to be hosting one of the panels. So there's a lot going on May 10th. Hopefully some of you fine folks will show up there, and I'll toss it in the comments. That way it's there. Tuz, any other community notes that you know of?
None that I know of. I think that's it. I haven't seen anything in the comments so far today. So I think that's her.
Okay, well, here, I'm going to toss this there. That way, if anybody wants, there's the link. Just threw it in the comments. Either way, Tuz 150 in the books. By sounds of it, next week we're going to be announcing our federal live election coverage, and we're going to start announcing names, and we're going to have a lot of fun.
Oh, yeah.
No matter what happens on that day, we'll be here. Either way, next Friday, 10 a.m. Mountain Standard Time. As always, the mashup, live, folks. That's where we're at. So
thanks for tuning in, everybody. 150 episodes.
150, yeah. Tuz, till next week.
We'll see you later.
Welcome to the Mashup.
Tell me whether I'm wrong or right. East or west, up or down, side to side. I sit to stand and fall to fly. Of all of my impulsive plans, popping, locking, salsa dances on demand. I follow leading off the map and stop the chatter, scream happily.
Welcome to the Mashup.
Welcome to the mashup. Welcome to the mashup.
Welcome